Shane Waldron is getting called out by offensive lineman and head coach Matt Eberflus in regards to the play call in week 3 that left everybody scratching their heads. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about how the Chicago Bears have changed some things. But same Bears day, same Bears problems. We're getting into all that plus some of the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So Coleman Shelton has talked about, and Matt Eberflus have both made their thoughts known in regards to the speed option play that Shane Waldron called on 4 and 1. When it comes down to it, a lot of people are looking at it and just saying that, the questions are there in regards to that play call. And it's questions that we raised here, right here at Chicago Bears Central. A lot of other people have talked about as well. I want to make it seem like it's exclusively us that picked up on it. And it's a questionable call, right? Coleman Shelton calling it a questionable call just on 4th and 1 and saying, hey, well, you go with a speed option at that point. It is what it is when it comes down to it. And that DeAndre Swift got overwhelmed by the defenders. That was the play that left all but one of the Bears offensive line on their backs on that type of play when it came down to it. Matt Eberflus saying this: Shane Waldron and I watched the tape at 6:30 this morning. We talked about that through. That's got to be a better play call and a better matchup there. Listen, I understood, right? And I've had my own share of conversations and disagreements in the comment section from people who looked at the play calling by Shane Waldron, and they've either tried to excuse him or thought that, it's not necessarily just Shane Waldron's play calling, which it's not. I've told you guys before, if you try to blame something on just one aspect of the game when it comes to any sport, but especially football, you're probably missing a large portion there. But the fact that the Bears are having these conversations are good, but let's be clear here, right? Ryan Poles right now has to start eating some crow, and we'll get to that in the second segment of the show. But I think overall, the Bears' play calling leaves a lot to be desired. Now, we did start using our weapons. It was good to see Cole Kmet use like the tight end that he is. It's good to see Rome Odunze use in the way that it was used last game. And it's good to see, that Caleb Williams is able to put up some yards passing-wise. But we got a long way to go. And, we went away from Roschon Johnson, which he was effective. DeAndre Swift has been nothing special or anything to call home on about yet. When it comes down to it, the Bears, yes, the offensive line, it sucks, right? Let me be clear here. But we are not putting the team in the best situation either with our play calling. Like we've talked about, me and Bobby, me and C-Dub, me and Steve-O, everybody's talked about the fact that the Bears aren't setting anything up with the way that they're calling anything. And it's leading to a stagnant offense. It's leaving to a lot to be desired when it comes down to it. And, we got to be better in regards to our play calling. And having a questionable offensive line doesn't excuse some of the play calling that we've seen out there. It just doesn't. And, if we keep trying to give the caveat or the excuse that, it is what it is, like our offensive line sucks, so that just means our offensive play calling can't be any better. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. And so, I know it's like beating a dead horse at this point. But once again, the Chicago Bears offense is doing just about everything that you needed to do. And, Chicago Bears defense is doing everything that you needed to do, and our offense just isn't living up to it. The Bears have played 3 games so far, and all 3 of those games were winnable games. Let's be clear. Now, you can take that as partially good if you want to be a glass half full type of person, and I'm not knocking you for it, right? The Bears have had 3 very winnable games. All these games have been winnable. We need better execution. If we can get to the point of doing that, then maybe we can start turning some of these losses into wins, especially with our next 2 opponents. We need to be trying to win those games, right? So when you look at it, the Bears are in a winnable game. Caleb Williams has progressed despite, some people that want to act like he has not. He has progressed, even with the down offensive line, and I understand it. The questions that people ask of how well can we evaluate Caleb with an offensive line this bad in play calling, I understand those points, but listen, Caleb Williams has improved. He's the second in the league in pass attempts, right? Second in the league in pass attempts, and 7th in the league in completions, number of completions. And while the number as far as offensively isn't there as far as the overall number, like Caleb Williams is progressing. Now, you don't want to see a quarterback throw over 50 times again. You just don't want to see that. That, again, gets into better play calling and setting things up. But Caleb has progressed over this time, and that was one of the things I'm looking for. We need to see more progression. We're not done with it, right? But we need to see that. Another thing, in-game decisions by Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus, we can talk about Shane Waldron's play calling. He can call Shane Waldron and talk at 6:30 a.m. all day long. But let's talk about Matt Eberflus's mismanagement of timeouts. Let's talk about him not using challenges correctly, right? Like, that's right up there with anything that anybody else does as far as failing. Like, we got to improve on these things. Matt Eberflus, Shane Waldron, Caleb Williams, all these aspects, we need to see all of them improve. So, at the end of the day, we got some things that we absolutely need to work on, but it leads me to the next topic, right? And this is a thing that's more frustrating. I want to be clear here. What I'm saying now, here in this next little bit of time, however long I'm talking, is more my frustrations as a Bears fan. And it just comes down to, it's the same Bears problems that we've always seen, right? Same Bears problems. And while, a lot of people, wanted to see the Bears make the move for Caleb Williams, right? And there are a lot of Bears fans that are vocal, especially now, of saying, hey, this is why we didn't necessarily have to move on from Justin. We could have, traded, build up that offensive line, build up and still have the weapons. And then maybe, then we could have progressed. And, one of the things that we talked about, me, Bobby, C-Dub, was that if the Bears had held on to Justin and you improve these other things, if you needed to change quarterback, you've then made improvements in certain places. That's not the route that the Bears could have went. And, as many people, and this is why I've said this, and I got to call some Bears fans out as well. A lot of you guys, like, you can't now say, hey, I wanted the Bears to move on from Justin, and then now that Caleb Williams doesn't look the best, the offensive line is still the same struggles, still the same shit. Now flip it and say, oh, well, it's on Ryan. Like, you guys complain about it. Like, that's the thing with Chicago sports. And a lot of you guys, a lot of you motherfuckers, let's just be real here. You complain either way. And the thing is, nothing, like, you guys want everything to be fixed, and everything was not going to be fixed. It was not. I get it. You can look at Ryan Poles and say, why didn't Ryan Poles invest more in the offensive line? But you can't say he didn't invest in it. Now, some of those investments didn't work out. Nate Davis, right? Darnell Wright is having some second-year lumps, right? But he is still an overall good offensive lineman. And anybody who's trying to say that he's not is just caught up in the moment and get out your fucking feelings, right? He's gonna go through some things. Right now, we're having struggles as a totality as an offensive line. So it's hard to evaluate any one specific asset of that. But again, so he did invest in the offensive line. Not enough, right? For the people who said, oh, instead of getting Rome Odunze, they should have drafted an offensive lineman there. I understand that thought, but it's not that Rome isn't going to be good, right? And you've gotten a wide receiver to pair for his career with your rookie quarterback. I'm not mad at that either. But the thing is, when you look at it, even the Keenan Allen, like, could the Bears have maybe used that pick instead if they knew they were going to try to go after Rome and be aggressive there with an offensive lineman? Yeah, but guess what? If Keenan Allen, this is part of the reason why you may hear the Bears not re-sign Keenan Allen. They're probably going to get a third or fourth round compensatory pick if he does leave in the offseason. Now, that pushes it a couple years down the path, but then you get that back, basically in what you gave up to get him, to then turn around and maybe use that on an offensive lineman. Ryan Poles still took calculated risk. And the people now that are flipping to say or act or present it as if Ryan Poles did nothing, y'all are stupid too. Like, yes, Ryan Poles, you're not going to fix everything, and that's where Ryan Poles has to invest in this offensive line. You got to go and get it right. Make no mistake about it. And yes, deciding to go after a rookie quarterback after you saw what Justin and Mitch went through, even though you weren't here for Mitch, you saw what those guys went through, and you didn't think, let me invest further in this offensive line. Yeah, you got to go out and fix it. But let's not act like we had the money in everything that we had. We had so many things that we needed to fix that, again, veteran offensive linemen cost money. Now, one could say, well, hey, I get it. He re-signed Jalen Johnson. All these, you knew you wanted to re-sign DJ Moore, but one thing you still got to understand, you got to protect your quarterback. And hopefully Ryan Poles is learning from that, right? You got to learn from that. But I tell you what, I guarantee you, if we invested in the way that, because you could have invested in this offensive line, had we spent those assets to invest in the offensive line, which is fine. Let's just say that. And Caleb Williams didn't have protection, but maybe not the weapons, people would have said, hey, Rome Odunze, like, it's just the way that it goes with Bears fans. And the thing is, you're not going to be able to address everything in every single offseason. Now, what Ryan Poles has done, he shored up that defense. He shored up the weapons for the most part. Even if Keenan Allen leaves, we got more than enough weapons on the offensive side of the ball. And now you got to refocus on your assets. Signing DeAndre Swift was a bad decision by Ryan Poles, period. I had some hope coming into it because of the dual threat nature of DeAndre Swift, but that's a contract that could have went to an offensive lineman. Wholeheartedly, right? Especially considering you had Khalil Herbert here, you have Roshan Johnson here, he even apparently still trusted Travis Homer. Like, that's an asset now that we're looking at and saying, damn, you went out and put money into Nate Davis. Like, this is not to abstain Ryan Poles from his bad decisions, but drafting Caleb and drafting Rome was not necessarily that. I guess you can make it that, right? Depending on who your chosen quarterback was or was not at that point. But again, the woulda, coulda, shoulda. At this point, to say or act as if Ryan Poles is a terrible GM, that's just not accurate. He's not. He's not a terrible GM. He's shown vision. He's went out and got guys, and it's done well. He just hasn't finished completing building this team yet. And he has to be smarter in some of the ways that he went. Every GM is going to have blemishes on their record. Nate Davis is an ugly blemish on your record. DeAndre Swift is shaping up to be another ugly blemish on your decision-making there and your evaluation of certain positions. Because listen, as it looks like right now, maybe that changes. That money should have and could have went to Khalil Herbert and locked him in, right? Those are those things there. David Montgomery walked away again, but the team was in a very different place. I'm not going to judge him too harshly on that. The fact is that Ryan Poles has a clear outline and a question, right? And the thing that needs to be addressed, and that's that offensive line. I'm choosing to give him some time, but it sucks that we're sitting here talking about the same thing on now the third quarterback. And even more than that, but I'm just going back to Mitch, Justin, and Caleb. We're talking about the same shit, and that's pressure, that's the amount of sacks that they're given, and that's them not being able to have the time to go through their progressions and development. Caleb Williams right now is tied for third as far as most sacks in the NFL at 13. 13 times has he been sacked this season. We got to be better about that. And now that Ryan Poles has that singular focus that he can focus on going out there and getting the offensive line shored up, let's see what he does, right? Let's see what he does. Because again, no GM in the league is going to address everything. And yes, we could have used certain assets to go more towards the offensive line. Absolutely. Not saying that, but I can understand where the hope was. Darnell Wright coming in, Kevin Jenkins being healthy, Nate Davis hopefully being healthy based off what he did in the run game before. Right, there's a lot of things that haven't lived up to the expectations, and as a GM, it's your job to fix it. Now go out and fix it. Right, and then another thing, another bearish trend that we see: a rookie quarterback drafted, and then that head coach is usually fired after that quarterback's rookie season. That's another bearish trend, and it seems like Matt Eberflus may be going that direction, and the Bears got to figure it out. Right now, Shane Waldron is a dud signing. Matt Eberflus is back to being the Flus that we saw before. Caleb Williams has tons of questions around him, but again, I've been prepping you guys all throughout the offseason that Caleb Williams is probably going to have a normal rookie season. And so what Ryan Poles does next is going to be hugely important. It's going to be hugely important. And so, again, I'm not judging Ryan Poles by the fact that he did not fix every single thing, but I am going to judge him by the fact of this. You now see how bad this offensive line is. You have between now, the trade deadline, and what you do next offseason to fix it. And yeah, we're going to talk. We're only 3 weeks into this season. That means that we got a lot of more. We got 15 more weeks to talk about this goddamn offensive line. And yeah, like I've told you guys before, I understand all the thoughts, the pressure, the ideas, but they're considering the Bears' assets and depending on what they are willing to give up or what they're willing to do in the draft, we could be having this same offensive line primarily for the most of the season. And that is something that we could definitely judge Ryan Poles by. But let's go ahead and get into the voicemails for today, man. I didn't get to get them into yesterday because me and Bobby did the episode together yesterday. You guys know I like to follow up on your thoughts after the game. This one's from Darius.
What's going on, guys? Darius from Dallas. This is my post-game, non-alcoholic, sober voicemail I'm going to call in now that I hadn't had a little time to get the old tequila out of my system. Man, it seems like our worst nightmare with Shane Waldron has happened. He is absolutely too damn pass happy. I think I saw that Caleb had 46 attempts. Like, that's insane, man. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, guys, but I believe I heard during the, maybe after during the post game or during the game, that he had somewhere around 46 attempts. Now, that is way too damn many attempts. I mean, not even an elite quarterback should be throwing that goddamn much unless your last name's Mahomes, or Allen. You know, there's a very select few quarterbacks that can function under that many pass attempts, man. And Shane Waldron is just getting a little too cute. And I don't know why we keep doing this, man, with these coordinators that come in here and they just immediately try to do the cutest shit instead of sticking to the fundamental stuff. I saw Nagy do the same thing. I saw Getsy do the same thing. We got to stop going after these under the radar signings from guys who was quarterback coaches and assistant coaches and giving them a shot. I'm tired of that, dude. At this point, I'm ready. I hate to say it, but fire Eberflus, keep our defensive coordinator, and go get Clint Kubiak or something next year, because I can't keep going through this with my team, man, where our defense is doing what they're supposed to do. Offense is not doing what they're supposed to do. What's going to happen is our defensive players are going to start getting injured. We're going to start having defensive starters go off the field left and right because they're constantly on the field every 5 goddamn minutes because we can't even get in field goal range to get a fucking field goal, okay? And that's the worst case scenario, man. We start losing stars on defense along with our offense struggling. We're on the Autobahn to like 5-12 or some shit. And that's not what I want to happen, man. I think that Shane is a little too pass happy. I don't understand why if I can see it, Shane, I expect you to see that Roschon Johnson needs to get either more touches or maybe even start right now. Every time Roschon touches the ball, it's a 5-yard gain. Every time he receives the ball out of the backfield, it's a gain. He's our best blocking running back. I don't understand what more Shane needs to see. I get it. You spent money on Swift, but it's not working. Okay. But I don't know, man. We're in limbo right now. Let's hope we get this thing turned around. But chase this up, bear down.
Shane Waldron being too pass happy. Absolutely, brother. Like, absolutely. I'm not even like at this point, and you were one of the ones that said it as far as the balance before. Now, he got better every year in Seattle as far as that finding better balance between the pass and the run game. But this has not been 52 pass attempts. You said 40 something. 52 pass attempts against the Colts. That's too much for any quarterback. And we completely abandoned the run game and did not have success in that after, finding some success early. You spent all this money on DeAndre Swift uses, right? Completely agree with you there, Darius. 52 pass attempts is too much. Caleb Williams is second in the entire NFL in pass attempts and 7th in completions. I know I said that earlier, but I'm saying it again. And we are back to being a Chicago Bears team that is being completely lifted by our defense, and our defense is doing a great job. And I love that you pointed it out there as far as the defenders potentially starting to get some injuries. We've already saw some fatigue in that Indianapolis Colts game. The offense has to live up to its side of the deal, and we're not. And this is typical Chicago Bears football. And I thought we were supposed to be trying to break that mold of typical Chicago Bears football. We ain't doing it. We're living in the goddamn mode, my friend. We got to be better. In every aspect and execution of the game, we must be better. And let's hope that it's better days coming. That's all we can do right now, Darius, is hope. Let's hope that we get there. Let's get into this next voicemail. This one is from J-Rod.
Yo, just J-Rod here, man. I know y'all already got 4,000 fucking calls about the offensive line. I'm sure y'all got 4,000 calls about how motherfuckers saw the offensive line. 4 of our offensive linemen at the 1-yard line on the floor while that defense started to motherfucking beat the shit out of Caleb Williams. Or not even Caleb Williams, but DeAndre Swift at the 1-yard line. 4 of our offensive linemen. Well, let me tell you, I'll be 4,001 calling to complain about that same bullshit. I said this last week. I'm going to say it this week. I'm going to say it every other fucking week. If I were Ryan Poles, I have a 1st or 2nd round pick, whatever the fuck y'all want, for any team that's willing to give up 2 offensive linemen, 1 center, 1 guard. We'll figure it out from there. We had 4 offensive linemen. I don't give a fuck about technique. I don't give a fuck about what we need to do better. I don't care about – we need to make moves. We need to make changes. Because now Eberflus is starting to sound like the same Eberflus we had last year, going up to the podium and everything is okay and we're working towards the goal and his perspective and all of that shit and all blah, 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 blah. Who cares if we're not making the correct decisions offensively? Let's be honest with ourselves. We were all excited to see Caleb Williams and Roma do when they get drafted. Why couldn't we get a motherfucking offensive lineman? What was stopping us from actually making our offensive line, the inside out, better? And now we're stuck. What the fuck do we got to do as a team to make ourselves better? I don't have these answers. What do you guys think? Chicago up, Bear down?
Listen, Matt Eberflus sounded like the same Matt Eberflus lad. You cooked. Because absolutely, bro. And when you say, why can't we get an offensive line? Because veteran offensive linemen that are free agents are one of the most expensive things out in the market. And Ryan Poles, up until this point, has prioritized adding depth But now we're getting to the point of you can't push it off. You cannot keep hiding this thing under the bed or stuffing the trash in the closet and hoping that it's just we're going to forget about it. It's time. Ryan Poles has to start investing money in this offensive line. Now, I'm not saying he needs to go out there and spend all money on veteran offensive linemen because that's where you can get, but a key veteran signing on that offensive line, drafting another offensive lineman, that brings you two right there, right? That brings you two. To add to Darnell Wright, maybe you keep Tevin Jenkins because of, that type of thing as well, of maintaining the money, but Tevin got to stay healthy. It's work that needs to be done on this offensive line. And I'll give Ryan Poles this credit in this one reprieve, and only this, is that by the way he's gone about it, he's basically eliminated every other question that we have. Weapons on the offensive side, we got that. Running backs, we got that. Tight ends, we got that, right? Quarterback, you got that locked in. Wide receivers, you got that. I think I already said that. Now, the offensive line. The defense is pretty much set. You got all second and third year players basically on that. Second, third, and fourth year players and veterans that are locked in for a while. Go out and spin. The trenches needs to be addressed for between now and the start of next season. And we're just now at the beginning of the season. But yeah, it's not easy to get an offensive line. It's just not. It's not. It's expensive. And Ryan Poles has been very poignant and intentional about how he spent his money. But now it's time to be intentional about spending money on that O-line. It just is. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Divine.
What's up, Hayes? What's up, Windy City Breeze, man? It's your boy Divine. This first time caller. I'm tired of hearing people say from the offensive line this, the offensive line that, the offensive line this. Yes, the offensive line is bad. That's what your offensive coordinator is for, bro. Like, you got a bad offensive line. Find different ways to run the ball. Don't just pitch the ball. Don't just stretch the ball. Let me see Roshan and power more. Let me see him run a couple linebackers over, a couple corners and safeties over, bro. Let me see him. Let me see something different, bro. Like I'm just tired. Like on the fourth down, you run 1 yard line, bro. You run two shotgun runs and a speed option, like a speed option, bro. Like I just don't get it. I don't fucking get it. I promise you, I don't fucking get it. It's the same fucking thing as last year when we had Justin, bro. It was the same fucking thing. It was the same fucking thing. And now I'm seeing why the Seattle, like the Seahawks, wasn't. You feel me? They wasn't mad that he left. I honestly see why. And here's another thing, bro. Like it's the culture all around, bro. Like it's the culture all around. Think about it. Like in our division, bro, we arguably have the worst coaching in the division. Like, we're not better than Kevin O'Connell. We're not better than Matt LaFleur. We're not better than Dan Campbell. We don't have the play callers nearly as good as they have them. We need to change something, bro. We need to change something fast, bro. Bear down.
I totally get what you're coming from. I want to say there, and play calling is definitely a part of the problem. It's not the only problem, right? And you say that it's up to the offensive coordinator to bring something different. I'll say this: you can only make so much salad from bullshit, and you can only get so much out of a certain talent level that you have. And that's just is what it is. You can only get so much out of it. So, yeah, they can move some things around. They can change some of the play calling, and they need to do that. But at the end of the day, the talent level is the talent level. You can only get so much out of it no matter how great of an offensive coordinator you are. And hell, Shane Waldron got to find his head out of his ass for play calling. So, yeah, let's hope that things and better days are going to start coming around. I get the frustration. You're absolutely right. Play calling, offensive line, those things are both the biggest sticking points right now for this offense. Go out and figure it the fuck out. And yeah, like I said many times before, is that this thing may not get fixed this season. It may be very difficult to fix the offensive line this season in totality. Welcome to the Chicago Bears 2024 season. That's all I can say, guys. But guys, thank you for sticking this one out with me. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. That's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.